I wanted to ask you just when you look at this season and the success that the Grizzlies had, how would you evaluate and summarize how this year went, and how special has this organization been for you and this team and the staff?
Yeah, first and foremost, Megan, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Wouldn't be in this position without Robert's support, belief, gratitude. I'm very thankful to be in this position. Couldn't be more excited about what we're building. The progress that we've made, for this young group through the trying circumstances of the season, to be able to not just qualify for the play-in, but to win two, Game 7 really, style games. The experience from that, overcoming that, having a very, hard fought, series with the Jazz from there. I'm proud of this group. I couldn't be more excited to continue building here in Memphis. I'm very fortunate to be able to, and this is just the beginning. So I'm excited for what's to come.
Drew Hill.
Hey, Zach. Just curious how you would assess Jaren's return and how he played, obviously after that injury, and then also he'll be eligible for an extension this summer. I'm just wondering if that's something that you are looking toward.
Yeah, really, really encouraged by what we saw from Jaren. He has been and very much remains a massive cornerstone. Him and Ja at the heart of what we're building here. I just give Jaren a ton of credit. To go down in the bubble. To do the smart thing and do the repair of his meniscus. No shortcuts there. Jaren just grinded, the entire, stretch of his way back. Rehabs are never fun or easy or anything to that effect, but Jaren did everything right. He was bought in every step of the way. Getting him back and towards the end of the season, reintegrating him. I think he found his rhythm more and more as the season went on. I think we saw in the Utah series the mismatches that he can cause, pulling Gobert away from the basket. But I mean, Jaren's a massive part of our present. Jaren's a massive part of our future. We're fortunate to have him here, and more to come.
Evan Barnes.
Zach, kind of on that note, you've always mentioned how much Justise Winslow, since he came here, has been part of that future as well. So I'm curious, how would you assess now that he's got, he had time to get his rhythm back a little bit when he played? How would you assess him still being a part of this future after kind of what you've seen so far from him?
Yeah, listen, it's never easy, and you can't sugarcoat it when someone's coming back from an injury. Like it took Justise some time to get his feet wet in and out of the rotation. We had, a lot of guys who were capable of playing rotation minutes. I think in a lot of other cases, Justise, could have had a little bit more of a runway just to find his rhythm. I think that was the biggest thing more than anything. I think the way things landed, where he was able to get some run in that second game against the Kings near the end of the season and find his rhythm a little bit. I think we saw that. But I give Justise a lot of credit. The work, the focus, the day in and day out, just working on getting back and finding his rhythm. That's a long process sometimes. And I think, we're encouraged by what we've seen.
Mike Wallace.
Hey, Zach, again, I echo Megan's sentiments. Congratulations, man. Well deserved.
Thank you, Mike.
Continued success as well. When you look at what the next steps are, obviously the NBA calendar is still sort of out of whack from traditional setup. But what are the next steps in terms of what happens now as you evaluate and build heading into the draft and free agency?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a condensed offseason. We're going to be holding pre-draft workouts in Memphis. We've got the combine, then more pre-draft workouts in Memphis. Draft is obviously end of July this year, and then we shift to summer league, and just to have an off season for our guys. Last year with the restrictions, our guys were incredibly, from the coaching staff and the players. Everyone was here, and we maxed out everything that we possibly could do under the rules, but it was limited. Like you could only have so much growth. For rookies like Dez and X, and Killian and Sean to come in and kind of hit the ground running the way that they did without any of that. I would give all those guys a lot of credit. Like rookies around the league this year, like they were really fighting an uphill battle so long without being able to do anything for a lot of guys like that. So just to have an actual offseason, we've got our full offseason plan and programming, and for our guys to be in our gym, putting in the work day to day. There's a lot of skill development. There's the reps that our guys are going to get in summer league. Dialogue that I know our coaches are really excited about that too. So it's just great to have an actual summer, albeit slightly condensed, but we can have a real offseason this offseason.
Mark Giannotto.
Hey, Zach, I had two questions, but I wanted a real quick follow-up on what Evan asked with Justice. Have you guys made a decision at this point on his team option for next season?
Yeah, we'll deal with contractual stuff over the summer, but I'll say, that there's a lot of encouraging things that we saw from Justice. I think he's a player who can be, very valuable and could potentially fit with what we're doing. So more to come. I'm not going to go into contractual stuff, but I think there were obviously, Justice has to find his rhythm, but I think there's, a lot of encouraging things that we saw with him too.
And then at a broader angle, I guess, obviously this team has been, I don't know what the internal expectations are, but it feels like externally they have experienced an accelerated growth process as a whole. Does that accelerate your plans at all as a front office in terms of what this team can be, maybe quicker than some people thought? I'm curious how you approach it now that this team has had the success they've had the past 2 years.
Yeah, Mark, it's a great question. I think the terms in which that often gets discussed are really rigid, right? It's you got to be, at X point this year and Y point the next year. Like we've been very intentional and disciplined the whole time that like the goal here is to win a championship. We want to bring the first NBA championship to Memphis. Like that is the goal. That's going to continue to be the goal. That's not going to change. Now, did we want to make the playoffs this year? Of course. Did we want to make the playoffs last year? Of course. Do we want to make the playoffs? Getting that, those steps, the experiences of that, playing in the play-in games, playing in the playoffs, losing in the playoffs. You can't, get to our ultimate goal. We can't win a championship without the growth, without the losing, without the grappling with those feelings of loss and growth. So absolutely, we want to keep progressing. I've said it before. It's not always a linear path. Like we want to keep pushing forward. That's always going to be the goal, to keep pushing forward. We have a massive belief, in this core group of guys, and I'm really excited. I'm very fortunate to be in this seat and have the opportunity to build it out, build this out, with the long-term goal of winning a championship here in Memphis in mind. And that's still what's going to drive all the decision-making.
Thanks. Harry Davis.
How you doing, Zach? And congratulations again, man.
Thank you very much.
With the success you've had and with having a potential superstar on your team with Ja, does that raise the expectation of getting potentially higher free agents coming in than in the past?
Yeah. So, first and foremost on Ja, I can't possibly say enough amazing things about the growth that we've seen from him. Just an incredible stretch, like willing his way through the play-in games, 47 in the game against Utah, clutch shot after clutch shot against Golden State to get us to this point. Ja Morant is a massively clear-cut all-star next year, and there's no ceiling on what Ja Morant's going to be in this league. What Ja Morant and us collectively, with him right at the heart of it, Jaren, right at the heart of this thing too, like what we're going to be able to achieve together. And sorry, could you repeat the second part of the question?
Attracting higher free agents instead of just a midterm free agent.
Yeah. So the whole, kind of free agent narrative, like we've never had an issue, in Memphis, keeping the players that we want to keeping the people that we want to keep here, but I really believe that, the culture that we're building, the way that we play, the personalities of Ja and Jaren, like players are going to want to play, with these guys, and, put aside small market and all that nonsense. Like at the end of the day, we're building a professional organization that is going to compete at the highest levels. We have the best medical care, the best player development. There's no state income tax in Memphis. It's a great place to live. It's incredibly comfortable. We're building something here that guys are going to want to continue to be a part of. And I'd like to think it's something that players are going to be attracted to.
Keith Parrish.
Hey, Zach, there's obviously a lot of positives for this season, but what's one of your biggest frustrations from the season, or something where you wish you could have learned more about maybe something on the roster before heading into the offseason?
Yeah. I think it really, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle when there's so many games going on, but having so many games jammed back to back this year, we got it. We didn't complain, but 40 games in 68 days, whatever it was, the second half of the season with the made up games. We weren't able to practice, in large part the last 2 months of the season. And, it's one thing to not, kind of get the reps in, but like from a development standpoint, like it's harder to improve. It's harder to clarify things. It's harder to rest and get ready for the next game when you can't actually practice at all. So, just feeling the ins and outs of that, around the team, like it was really challenging. Like we're not the only team in that boat. There were a lot of teams, that had condensed schedules this year. So getting through that and just getting back to the normal NBA cadence, let's have proper reps. But I would give a ton of credit to Taylor and the coaching staff. The amount of work that they were able to get in for our guys, notwithstanding not being able to practice, is really impressive and speaks volumes about Taylor's organization, the ability of this, the care factor, of the staff, the back, the guys who were not in the rotation, they were building in play groups. Those guys were getting runs around, shoot around, that's not something that's done everywhere. And it really kept our whole group engaged. It kept everyone, really kind of pulling in the same direction. So I'm proud of the extent to which our group really, kind of maximized the circumstances this year, but the circumstances this year were not ideal in the slightest.
Drew Hill.
Zach, looking ahead, you have a couple guys on expiring deals next year, and Jonas and Kyle, who are a huge part of your team. So how much do you have to sort of take that in consideration and start planning for the future now and what it might look like down the line?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say, more positive things about both JV and Kyle. I mean, Jonas was just a monster this year. I mean, that bankable 2010 every night. Just the reliable, rock force part of this team. And Jonas has just bought in. He's very much evolved to the way that we play, the way that Taylor wants to play. Fitting in with other guys, doing everything that's asked of him. So really massive growth in Jonas's game. And I mean, from what we've seen from Kyle Anderson, a couple of years ago, obviously had the surgery, working through a shot, really kind of, overhauling it in a way that got him to a point after many reps that he, it clicked massively. Kyle's always been immensely talented, incredibly, sharp two-way player, but the growth that we saw from Kyle, I mean, Kyle, I really thought he deserved like legit consideration for most improved player this year. Thought he easily could have won that award. Kyle's made massive growth. He's shown he's a fit with this group. So very positive on both of those guys.
So do you see, as far as their future, with expiring deals coming up, that progress, I guess, has to be taken into consideration along with the timeline of the young players on the team like John, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, you need, right, we don't need, you need vets, right? Like you need guys who know how to play. You need guys who, are going to, kind of set the tone, show that kind of example. I'm not going to go into specific contractual stuff, but again, very positive impression of both of those guys coming out of the season.
Evan Barnes.
Zach, kind of on that note, just how much do you factor in whether, when guys, kind of fall in and out of the rotation, their roles kind of change over the season, how much do you kind of factor the full measure of kind of what a player maybe does, when you're looking at their future, based on, where they are at the end of the season, or do you look at it more from their whole season of totality?
Yeah, I mean, carefully, we just try to use common sense at the end of the day. Like, it's very easy, I think in this league to get caught up in what happened yesterday, what happened in the last 2 weeks. Like, we really try to take a step back and say, what has this player done over the course of the season? What has this player done over the course of their career? What's the trajectory of what they've done? How do they, as far as, personality, how do they carry themselves? What's the fit there? So, I mean, we take everything, gather all the information, a ton of information. We look at these things really closely, not too much information. You can't get bogged down at the same time, but you focus on, the things that we prioritize organizationally and say, is this the right fit, going forward? And you make a common sense judgment from there.
On a follow-up.
Go ahead, Evan.
Sorry, just kind of following that. How much weight do you put on kind of where things end up? You mentioned not looking back toward yesterday, but just how much does that kind of play a role as far as just, where guys end up at the end of the season?
I mean, it's part of the calculus like anything else, but really try to take a step back and kind of view the big picture. I mean, of course, like, I think it's easy for everyone to kind of remember and see like what just happened. And of course, like, you look at it, but really try to, kind of take a step back and think about things holistically, especially when it comes to, important roster decisions. So it's certainly not just where things wound up. I think it's the full picture.
Mike Wallace.
Yeah, Zach, as a follow-up, you guys, we talk a lot about the symbiotic collective relationship in terms of the approach between the staff. Obviously, the development of roster is one thing. Taylor's had some differences in terms of personnel on his coaching staff as well, those guys coming together. And even in the front office, how does that development go in terms of you, Tayshaun, Rich, Glenn, and that front office staffs in terms of coming together these last 2 years as well?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be in a happier place with my staff. Tayshaun does an incredible job. I think there's a lot of former players that kind of get into these roles and just kind of just want to stay around the game. I mean, Tayshaun puts in the work. Like I've never come across anyone who Tayshaun writes scouting reports that are as detailed as anyone else, gathers intel reports as detailed as anyone else, and it just has an incredible mind for the game. Tayshaun's incredible. Rich Joe plays a massive role in the front office too. Just the reliability, the experience. He's been through everything. Cap resource, analytics resource. Very much someone that I lean on heavily. And Chris Makris too. Chris Makris running our scouting group. We wouldn't be in the position that we've been in with these recent drafts if it weren't for the work of Chris. Identifying a lot of under the radar guys. All of us putting our heads together on that. He's doing a fantastic job. There too. And there's countless other people I could name in the front office that make a really significant impact. But I'm thrilled with my group, and I'm just I couldn't be more excited to keep building with them here in Memphis.
Got time for one more. We'll go to Parker Fleming.
Hey, Zach, just to follow up on Evan's question with Brandon Clarke specifically. I mean, last year made all rookie first team, and a lot of people had kind of considered it like John Jaren and like Brandon Clarke at times, which is how the end of his season went down. Is it more of like a reevaluation of what he could become, or were those like injuries playing a large factor in that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we still love BC. I think there was a little bit of injuries, kind of in and out, just managing some nagging stuff there. But BC, we're still very high on him, still very much a significant part of the future here. I think as far as like in and out of the rotation, we had a lot of functional depth, a lot of guys, playing well. I think Xavier Tillman had a terrific rookie season. I think Killian Tilly, showed that he's a guy who can really make an impact too. The shooting, the competitiveness that he brings to the table too. So we got a lot of guys that can play. Brandon's one of them, and we still feel very optimistic about where we are going forward with him as well.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.